From an early age, many people are taught to believe that popularity is proof of happiness. We grow up hearing that the more friends you have, the more successful, likable, and fulfilled you must be. Social circles become a measure of worth, and being alone is often treated as a problem that needs to be fixed. But life has a way of challenging simple assumptions. As people grow older and experience disappointment, betrayal, and superficial relationships, many begin to realize that there is a profound difference between being surrounded by people and being genuinely understood. Some individuals do not have many friends, not because they cannot make them, but because they refuse to sacrifice authenticity simply to belong. Authenticity is expensive. It often costs approval, popularity, and comfort. Telling the truth when everyone else chooses convenience is rarely the easiest path. Refusing to pretend, refusing to wear different masks for different groups, and refusing to change your values simply to fit into a crowd naturally reduces the number of people who remain close to you. But those who value authenticity understand that pretending to be accepted is far more painful than standing alone as yourself. Imagine a person wearing a mask every single day. At first, the mask feels useful because everyone seems to like it. Compliments come easily, invitations increase, and acceptance feels effortless. But after years of wearing it, something strange happens. They begin forgetting who they really are beneath the disguise. Every conversation becomes another performance. Every friendship depends on maintaining an image instead of revealing the truth. Although surrounded by people, they quietly feel isolated because nobody truly knows them. Now imagine someone who chooses a different path. They speak honestly, even when their opinions are unpopular. They refuse to laugh at conversations that go against their values. They are respectful without pretending to agree with everything. Naturally, fewer people remain around them. Some walk away because authenticity makes them uncomfortable. Others leave because they preferred the version that always agreed. Yet the relationships that survive become stronger because they are built on truth rather than performance. Many people misunderstand this kind of solitude. They assume someone with very few friends must be antisocial, arrogant, or emotionally distant. In reality, many of these individuals simply have a low tolerance for superficial relationships. They are not avoiding connection. They are avoiding emptiness disguised as connection. They would rather spend one meaningful evening with a trustworthy person than countless hours surrounded by conversations that never move beyond appearances. Think about precious stones hidden beneath the earth. Diamonds are incredibly valuable, yet they are rare. Ordinary rocks exist everywhere. No one travels across the world searching for common stones because they can be found almost anywhere. Genuine friendships follow a similar principle. Deep trust, mutual respect, and lasting loyalty are uncommon. Surface-level relationships are easy to collect. Wise people eventually stop counting how many people know their name and start paying attention to who truly understands their character. Choosing authenticity also requires courage because honesty does not always receive immediate rewards. There will be moments when speaking truth costs opportunities. There will be times when refusing to follow the crowd leads to temporary loneliness. You may watch others gain quick approval by becoming whatever people expect them to be, while you remain misunderstood simply because you chose to stay true to yourself. In those moments, it becomes tempting to compromise your values just to feel accepted. But acceptance gained through pretending always comes with hidden conditions. The moment you stop playing the role people expect, that acceptance often disappears. Authenticity works differently. It may attract fewer people, but those who remain appreciate the real person rather than a carefully created image. That kind of connection lasts because it is built on honesty instead of illusion. There is another quiet benefit to living authentically. You no longer waste energy trying to impress everyone. Your decisions become guided by principles rather than popularity. You stop asking, "Will they like me?" and begin asking, "Am I living according to my values?" That single shift creates tremendous emotional freedom because your self-worth no longer depends on constant approval. This does not mean rejecting kindness or refusing new friendships. Authentic people often enjoy meaningful relationships. The difference is that they allow those relationships to grow naturally instead of forcing them through people-pleasing or endless compromise. They understand that real friendship does not require pretending. It requires honesty, mutual respect, and shared values. Over time, something remarkable happens. While others become exhausted trying to maintain countless shallow connections, authentic individuals experience peace. Their circle may remain small, but it becomes genuine. Every relationship carries depth because it survived the test of truth. Every conversation feels meaningful because no one is pretending to be someone they are not. The world often celebrates popularity, but character has always been far more valuable than attention. Popularity changes with opinions. Authenticity remains steady, regardless of who approves. Because one genuine friendship built on truth will always be worth more than 100 relationships built on pretending. One of the most noticeable qualities shared by people who have very few friends is that they think for themselves. This may sound simple, but in reality, it is one of the rarest abilities a person can develop. From childhood surrounded by expectations about how we should think, speak, dress, behave, and even dream, we are rewarded for fitting in and often criticized for standing apart. Over time, many people begin making decisions not because those decisions reflect their own beliefs, but because they fear the consequences of being different. Those who eventually choose independent thinking often discover that the price of authenticity is a smaller social circle. Most people naturally seek agreement because agreement feels safe. There is comfort in following the majority. If everyone around you believes the same thing, making the same choice seems less risky. But history has shown that truth has rarely belonged to the crowd alone. Progress has often begun with individuals who are willing to question accepted ideas, challenge comfortable assumptions, and think beyond what everyone else accepted without question. Imagine a flock of birds flying together across the sky. Every bird changes direction at almost the same moment because each one follows the movement of the others. The system works beautifully, but no single bird decides where the flock should ultimately go. Now imagine one bird breaking away to explore another direction. From the perspective of the flock, that bird appears strange, even wrong. Yet sometimes the new direction leads to better opportunities that the group would never have discovered by remaining together. Independent thinkers often experience life in the same way. They are willing to step away from familiar paths even when others fail to understand their reasons. This independence does not come from arrogance. It comes from curiosity. People who think independently ask questions that others avoid. They wonder whether popular opinions are actually true. They examine ideas instead of accepting them automatically. They listen carefully, but they refuse to surrender their judgment simply because an opinion is shared by many. This habit sometimes makes them appear distant because they are less interested in following trends than in understanding reality. Many friendships are built around shared habits rather than shared values. Groups often expect everyone to think alike in order to maintain harmony. The moment someone respectfully disagrees, tension begins to appear. Independent thinkers experience this more often than most. They are not trying to create conflict, but they refuse to betray their own understanding simply to receive approval. As a result, some people slowly distance themselves because they prefer comfort over honest conversation. Think of a compass placed in an open field. No matter how many people point in a different direction, the compass continues pointing north. It does not become confused by popularity. It follows its own internal guide. A person with strong independent thinking develops a similar inner compass. They consider advice, learn from experience, and remain open to correction, but they do not abandon their principles simply because public opinion changes. Their direction comes from reflection rather than pressure. This way of thinking often creates temporary loneliness. There will be moments when standing by your values means standing without a crowd beside you. Others may misunderstand your silence as pride or mistake your independence for arrogance. In reality, many independent people simply refuse to participate in conversations that require them to compromise their integrity. They understand that agreement without conviction is not genuine peace. It is quiet surrender. There is another advantage that independent thinking brings. It protects you from emotional manipulation. People who constantly seek approval can easily be influenced by praise, criticism, or social pressure. Their decisions change depending on who is watching. But someone who has learned to trust their own judgment becomes much harder to control. They no longer need every person to agree with them before moving forward. That confidence allows them to make difficult decisions even when those decisions are unpopular. Independent thinkers also become lifelong learners. Because they are not attached to appearing right, they remain willing to grow. They read widely, observe carefully, and reflect deeply. Their confidence comes from understanding, not from pretending to know everything. This humility strengthens their judgment because they value truth more than ego. They would rather change their opinion after discovering new evidence than stubbornly defend an idea simply to protect their image. Over time, these habits naturally shape their relationships. Instead of collecting many casual acquaintances, they become drawn toward people who value meaningful conversation, honesty, and intellectual curiosity. Their circle becomes smaller, but the quality of those relationships often becomes much deeper. They are not searching for people who always agree with them. They are searching for people who respect thoughtful disagreement and value truth above convenience. The world often celebrates those who follow the crowd because they are easy to understand. But genuine growth has always belonged to those who possess the courage to think before they follow and question before they imitate. Because the strongest mind is not the one that echoes every popular opinion, but the one that remains faithful to truth even when it must stand alone. After understanding why authentic people often have fewer friends and why independent thinking naturally reduces the size of their social circle, we arrive at another personality trait that is often misunderstood. People with very few friends usually become emotionally self-reliant. This does not happen overnight, nor is it always a choice in the beginning. For many, it begins after experiencing disappointment, betrayal, misunderstanding, or long periods of solitude. While others immediately search for someone to rescue them from emotional pain, these individuals slowly learn something different. They discover that peace built within yourself is far more dependable than comfort borrowed from other people. Most of us are taught to believe that emotional strength comes from having someone who is always there for us. There is certainly value in supportive relationships, but there is also danger in depending on them for every emotional need. If your happiness rises and falls according to another person's attention, approval, or presence, your emotional life is no longer truly your own. You become vulnerable to every disappointment because your stability depends on circumstances you cannot control. Imagine a house connected to another building for electricity. As long as the neighboring building has power, everything works. But the moment that connection is lost, the house is left in darkness because it never developed its own source of energy. Many people live emotionally in the same way. Their confidence depends on compliments. Their peace depends on reassurance. Their motivation depends on encouragement from others. The moment those things disappear, they begin doubting themselves. Emotionally self-reliant people choose a different path. They work patiently to build their own inner foundation, so that even when life becomes quiet, they remain steady. This process is rarely easy. In fact, it often begins with discomfort. Spending time alone forces you to solve your own problems instead of immediately looking for someone else to fix them. It teaches you to sit with difficult emotions instead of escaping them. It teaches patience when answers do not come quickly. At first, this feels lonely, but over time, something remarkable happens. The very experiences that once felt painful begin creating resilience. You realize that you survived situations you once believed would break you. Every challenge quietly strengthens your confidence. Think about a sailor learning to navigate the ocean. At the beginning, calm waters feel safe because they require very little skill, but storms teach lessons that peaceful seas never could. The sailor gradually learns how to read the wind, adjust the sails, and remain calm under pressure. Eventually, confidence replaces fear because experience has become a trusted teacher. Emotional resilience develops in much the same way. Difficult seasons force you to grow abilities that comfort could never produce. One reason emotionally self-reliant people are often misunderstood is because they appear calm in situations where others expect panic. They do not immediately seek sympathy for every problem. They take time to think before reacting. They process disappointment privately before speaking publicly. To someone who depends heavily on external reassurance, this behavior can seem distant or emotionally cold. In reality, it often reflects years of learning how to regulate emotions instead of being controlled by them. This does not mean they never experience sadness, fear, or loneliness. They feel these emotions just as deeply as anyone else. The difference is that they do not allow temporary emotions to become permanent identities. Instead of saying, "I am broken," they remind themselves, "I am facing a difficult moment." Instead of assuming they need someone else to complete them, they begin asking what they can learn from the experience itself. That shift changes everything because growth replaces helplessness. Another important quality of emotional self-reliance is the ability to enjoy one's own company. Many people cannot sit quietly for even a short period without searching for distraction. Silence makes them uncomfortable because it forces them to confront thoughts they have avoided for years. Emotionally self-reliant individuals gradually become comfortable with those quiet moments. They read, reflect, write, exercise, learn, or simply think. Solitude no longer feels like punishment. It becomes a place where clarity and strength quietly develop. Picture a deep well beneath the earth. During seasons of rain, everyone has water. But when drought arrives, only those with deep wells continue drawing from a reliable source. Emotional strength works the same way. When life is going well, confidence comes easily to almost everyone. The real difference appears during hardship. Those who have developed inner resilience continue moving forward because their strength comes from within rather than from changing circumstances. There is another benefit to becoming emotionally self-reliant. Relationships become healthier. You stop expecting friends to solve every emotional struggle. You stop placing impossible expectations on people to constantly make you happy. Instead, you approach relationships from a place of stability rather than need. You appreciate support when it is offered, but you no longer depend on it to maintain your sense of worth. This creates freedom for both you and the people around you, because connection becomes a choice instead of an emotional necessity. Over time, this quiet resilience changes the way you move through life. You become less reactive to criticism because your confidence is not built on applause. You become less afraid of rejection because you have already learned how to stand on your own. Most importantly, you discover that the strongest form of security is not found in having many people around you. It is found in knowing that whatever life brings, you have developed the character to face it with courage, because the person who learns to rely on their own inner strength will never be completely powerless. no matter how alone they may appear. As people become more authentic, think more independently, and learn to rely on their own emotional strength, another personality trait naturally begins to appear. They become extremely selective about who they allow into their lives. To someone looking from the outside, this selectiveness may seem unfriendly or even arrogant. Some people assume that having very few friends means a person is closed off or unwilling to connect, but in many cases, the opposite is true. They understand the value of genuine relationships so deeply that they refuse to fill their lives with connections that lack honesty, respect, or trust. When you are younger, it is easy to mistake attention for friendship. Anyone who laughs with you, spends time with you, or shares similar interests may quickly earn your trust. But life has a way of teaching difficult lessons. Over time, you begin noticing that not everyone who smiles at you supports you. Not everyone who stays close during easy seasons remains when life becomes difficult. Some people only appear when they need something. Others disappear the moment your success challenges their comfort. These experiences do not necessarily make wise people bitter, but they do make them careful. Imagine the owner of a beautiful garden. If they leave the gate open to everyone without paying attention, weeds are carried inside along with flowers. Over time, those weeds begin taking space, stealing nutrients, and slowly destroying the beauty of the garden. A wise gardener understands that protecting the garden is just as important as planting it. Human relationships work the same way. Your peace, time, energy, and emotional well-being are valuable. Allowing the wrong people unlimited access can slowly damage everything you have worked so hard to build. This is why emotionally mature people observe before they trust. They pay attention to patterns rather than promises. Anyone can speak kind words for a few days. Anyone can appear loyal when life is easy. But character reveals itself through consistency. How does someone treat people who cannot benefit them? How do they respond during disagreement? Do their actions match their words? These questions matter far more than first impressions because lasting relationships are built on character, not charm. Many people confuse boundaries with rejection. They believe that saying no, protecting personal time, or limiting access to certain people is selfish. In reality, healthy boundaries are acts of wisdom. They allow kindness to exist without becoming exploitation. They allow generosity without creating resentment. A person with strong boundaries can still care deeply about others while refusing to sacrifice their own peace simply to keep everyone happy. Think about a bank vault protecting something valuable inside. The vault does not remain locked because it hates people. It remains secure because what it contains has value. If it opened for everyone without caution, it would soon be empty. In the same way, people who have developed strong character understand that their trust is valuable. They do not give it away immediately because they know how difficult it is to rebuild once it has been broken. This selectiveness often surprises people who are accustomed to quick friendships. They may ask, "Why are you so quiet?" or "Why does it take so long for you to trust someone?" The answer is usually simple. Experience has taught them that protecting peace is easier than repairing unnecessary emotional damage. They no longer feel pressured to keep every person in their life simply because of history, convenience, or fear of loneliness. They understand that being alone is often healthier than remaining connected to relationships that constantly drain energy and create anxiety. Another important difference is that selective people no longer chase acceptance. They are not trying to convince everyone to like them. They know this is impossible. Instead, they focus on becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts honesty, respect, and integrity. This shift removes enormous emotional pressure. Instead of asking, "How can I make everyone accept me?" they begin asking, "Does this relationship bring out the best in both of us?" That question changes the entire foundation of friendship. Being selective does not mean expecting perfection. Every person has flaws, makes mistakes and experiences difficult seasons. Wise individuals understand this. They do not walk away because someone is imperfect. They look for qualities that matter far more than perfection. Honesty after mistakes, accountability instead of excuses, loyalty during hardship, and respect during disagreement. Those qualities create relationships capable of surviving life's inevitable challenges. As a result, their social circle often becomes much smaller than most people expect. But that small circle usually carries something much more valuable than popularity. It carries trust. There is peace in knowing that the few people around you genuinely care about your well-being rather than simply enjoying your convenience. There is confidence in knowing you no longer have to pretend in order to maintain those relationships. Over time, these carefully chosen connections become stronger because they are built slowly instead of carelessly. They survive misunderstandings because they were founded on respect. They survive distance because they were founded on loyalty. They survive success because they were founded on sincerity rather than jealousy. The truth is that protecting your peace is not a sign of weakness. It is one of the clearest signs that you finally understand the value of your own life. Because the strongest relationships are never measured by how many people enter your life, but by the character of the few you choose to keep close. As you continue observing people who have very few friends, you begin noticing something that surprises many. While others spend enormous amounts of time trying to impress the world, these individuals quietly spend that same time improving themselves. From the outside, this can look like loneliness. Some may assume they are missing out on life because they are not constantly surrounded by people. But what others fail to see is that these quiet seasons are often filled with learning, discipline, reflection, and personal growth. They are not escaping life, they are preparing for it. Modern society celebrates visibility. We are constantly encouraged to share every achievement, announce every goal, and seek approval for every step we take. It can create the illusion that success comes from being noticed. But history repeatedly teaches a different lesson. The strongest character is rarely built in front of an audience. It is built in private during moments when no one is watching, applauding, or encouraging you to continue. Imagine two people standing at the beginning of the same journey. The first spends every day trying to convince others that they are successful. They constantly seek attention, compare themselves to everyone around them, and invest most of their energy maintaining an impressive image. The second person says very little. Instead of chasing recognition, they spend their mornings reading, practicing valuable skills, exercising discipline, and reflecting on their mistakes. At first, there appears to be little difference between them. Years later, however, the gap becomes impossible to ignore. One mastered appearances. The other mastered themselves. People with few friends often understand a simple truth that many overlook. Every hour spent trying to impress others is an hour that cannot be invested in becoming a better version of yourself. They begin asking different questions. Instead of wondering whether everyone likes them, they wonder whether they are becoming wiser. Instead of measuring success by popularity, they measure it by progress. That change in perspective transforms the way they use their time. Think about an artist creating a masterpiece. Before anyone admires the finished painting, countless hours are spent alone mixing colors, correcting mistakes, and refining every detail. Visitors only see the completed work hanging on the wall. They rarely witness the silent dedication that made it possible. Human growth follows the same pattern. Confidence, discipline, knowledge, and emotional maturity are created through repeated effort during quiet moments that no one celebrates. This is one reason solitude becomes such a powerful advantage. Without constant pressure to entertain others or gain approval, there is room to develop abilities that change your future. Reading one chapter every day may seem insignificant. Learning a new skill after work instead of wasting hours seeking distraction may not attract attention. Spending time reflecting on your habits instead of comparing yourself to others may appear ordinary. Yet these small decisions quietly shape an extraordinary life. Many people become frustrated because they expect immediate results. They want confidence without discipline, success without preparation, and wisdom without reflection. But real growth has always been gradual. It resembles the slow growth of a tree rather than the flash of fireworks. Fireworks are loud, exciting, and quickly forgotten. A tree grows quietly, almost unnoticed, yet eventually becomes strong enough to provide shade for generations. The people who dedicate themselves to personal growth understand this difference. They are willing to sacrifice temporary attention for lasting transformation. There is another important reason these individuals spend more time building themselves than impressing others. They know that attention is temporary, but character remains. Popularity changes with trends, opinions, and circumstances. Character grows stronger through consistent choices made over many years. If your identity depends entirely on how others see you, your confidence will always be fragile. But if your identity is built on discipline, integrity, knowledge, and purpose, no opinion can easily shake it. Consider a sculptor working with a block of stone. Every careful strike removes something unnecessary. The sculptor does not add greatness. They reveal what was hidden beneath the surface all along. Personal development works in exactly the same way. Every book you read removes ignorance. Every challenge you overcome removes fear. Every disciplined habit removes weakness. Slowly, the person you were meant to become begins to emerge. This commitment to growth often explains why people with very few friends appear comfortable spending time alone. They no longer see empty hours as something to escape. They see them as opportunities to improve. While others fear silence, they use it to think. While others seek constant entertainment, they pursue mastery. While others compare themselves endlessly, they quietly compete with the person they were yesterday. Eventually, the results become visible. The confidence they developed through discipline replaces insecurity. The knowledge they gained through study creates opportunities. The emotional resilience they built through solitude allows them to remain calm when others panic. Ironically, the people who spent the least